This is lesson 2-5, mental math. And our central question is, how can you use the properties of operations to calculate mentally? And you guys have been doing mental math for a few years now, so most of this should be pretty easy. We have no vocab for this lesson. Okay, example number 1. We're going to talk a little bit about something called a compensation. So this is an example on how to use compensation when you're adding. So we have, for our original problem, 57 plus 698. So when we're using mental math, we want to try to do something that's going to be very easy for us. So to make this easy, what we're going to do is take 697 and add 2. Because now that becomes 700. And 700 is a lot easier to add than 698 because it has the 2 zeros. It's going to just be very quick to do in our head. So since we added 2 to that number, we have to subtract 2 from our other number in order to make sure that our answer is correct. Because if we just added 2, then our answer would be 2 more than it should be. So then we subtract 57 minus 2 to make up for that extra 2 that we already added. So if we do 57 minus 2, we get 55. And then now we can just add those to find our answer. 55 plus 700 is 755. So again, really quickly, we were trying to make this number easier to add with. So we wanted to change it to the number 700. So we added 2 to do that. Since we added 2, we had to subtract 2 from our other number in order to keep our answer correct. Okay, that's compensation for adding. Example number 2 is a little bit trickier. It's compensation but for subtracting. Now I'm going to give you a little hint. This is on your test. So definitely write this one down. Make sure you study it when it's test time, so you might want to put a star or something next to it that'll remind you. If you have a question, I would ask your question about this so that I can help you so you understand it for your test. Okay, so we have our original problem, 355 minus 297. So again, we want to use numbers that are going to be easy to subtract in our head. So we're going to add 3 to 297 because that makes it 300, which is a lot easier. Even number, very easy to do in our head. So again, we took 297, added 3 to make it 300. Okay, and then we have our second part of our problem. We just carried it right down, our other number right here, 355. We carried it down here, and we carried it again here. So then we have 355 minus 300, because remember we added the 3 to 297. So that gave us 55 when you do that. You could do that in your head. 355 minus 300, you know that's 55. Then here's a little bit of the tricky part. Now to our answer, we have to add 3 because we added 3 up here. And the reason we do that is because we have to add back to the difference the extra amount that we subtracted. And I know that sounds a little bit tricky, but we end up with the answer 58. So if you think back to the one we just did with addition, we added 2 to one number, but then we took away 2 to the other number to make it even. But that's because we were adding. When you're subtracting, you're going to add to both numbers. So write that down. if that will help you remember. All right, we have another example of just a different way to do some mental math. This is not compensation. This is just a different type of example. So here's our problem, 2 times 9 times 20. So we're thinking of what's the easiest way for us to do this? Well, the easiest way is to first do 2 times 20, because that's very easy to do in our head. We can get 40. And then multiply that by 9. 40 times 9 is 360. Of course, if you wanted to do 2 times 9 and get that answer and then do times 20, you could. But if you want to break it apart to make it a little bit easier, that would be one example of how you could do it. Here are your practice problems. You can do them any way that you would like. Number 3, you might want to try using compensation so that you can have a little practice on that prior to the test. But 1 and 2, you can do them any way that you can find the answer that is easiest for you. Don't forget your word problem or question and rate your understanding.